listening to WGSN-DB Digital Broadcasting, Going Solo Network with Bruce Starr, the Love Coach Show. Like berries on the lawn, it gets sweeter all the time.
And welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Love Coach Show. I have a very, very exciting guest here that's on the show with us today. Let me tell you about Dr. Eric Pearl. I've got his book right in front of me. His book is called The Reconnection-Heal-Others and Heal Yourself. And Dr. Eric Pearl is an internationally recognized healer who has appeared on countless television programs in the U.S. and around the world. He's spoken by invitation at the United Nations. He's presented to a full house at Madison Square Garden. He's been interviewed in various publications, including the New York Times, and most recently featured in the film The Living Matrix. Let me tell you more about him. As a doctor, Eric ran a highly successful chiropractic practice for 12 years until one day his patients began reporting that they felt his hands on them, even though he hadn't physically touched them. Patients soon reported receiving miraculous healings from cancers, age-related diseases, epilepsy, chronic fatigue syndrome, rheumatoid and osteoarthritis, even birth disfigurements, cerebral palsy, and other serious afflictions. And this all occurred when Eric simply held his hands near them. And to this day, it continues. His patients, the healings, have been documented in 6 books to date, including Eric's own international bestseller, The Reconnection-Heal-Others and Heal Yourself, now in more than 36 languages. And I'm very excited, Dr. Pearl. I want to welcome you to the show, Dr. Pearl.
Well, thank you very much. By the way, let me know if you get an echo.
I do.
The street corner.
I have an echo, not from you, but from me.
How about now? Is that better?
Well, let's see. If I don't hear it now, so perfect, Dr. Pearl.
Good. If it comes back, let me know. I will readjust it. I'm on the streets, on a curb in Bologna, in Italy. I just arrived here. And I apologize about the timing. The planes and everything ran behind schedule, and so here I am. So if you hear a motorcycle or a car go by, you'll understand.
I just can't believe it. My family, my wife and my child, spent 3 months in Italy a year ago. We were in Italy a year ago this day, and we absolutely loved it. We stayed there for 3 months. So I am not just honored, but I'm thrilled that you'd be willing to make a call all the way from Italy to speak to us.
Absolutely. But do let me know if you get that echo again. I'll fix it.
No, it's just fine. Dr. Pearl, I am so interested in your work. I've got your book right in front of me right now, The Reconnection. I've read it 2 or 3 times. My wife, Lauren, is a chiropractor. She went to chiropractic school, and she has some really talents as a massage therapist. So both of us can absolutely relate to the work that you're doing. But I am so curious, and I've read your book, but for my listeners, how did your extraordinary powers come about? Because it's one thing to be doing chiropractic work on people, but it's another thing for them to be telling you that they're feeling all sorts of things that you're not even doing.
Well, the background of how this developed, how this came about was, it was really sort of sudden. I didn't study energy healing. It wasn't a direction I thought I'd be going in. I was awakened in the middle of the night on a Thursday by a very bright light. I opened my eyes to see what it was, and it wasn't anything seemingly spiritual or metaphysical. It was just the lamp next to my bed. It had, for some reason, turned itself on. Now, I had had that lamp for a good 10 years. It hadn't, as I like to say, selected any other propitious occasion to self-ignite. But there it was. And at the same time, though, there was a very strong, clear feeling, at least to me, that there was somebody in my house. So much so that I got up with a knife, a can of pepper spray, and my Doberman pincher, and I went hunting. And I walked to the house for a good 15, 20 minutes looking until finally I said, well, if I'm at all sane, then this has got to be my imagination. So I went back to sleep. But on that Monday when I went into my office, 7 of my patients insisted that they were feeling people in the rooms with us just the way I was feeling people in my home. Some said it felt as if people were standing or walking or running. Some said it felt almost as if somebody was flying around the ceiling. Other patients were telling me they could feel my hands before I touched them. Of course, I didn't believe them, so I held my hands near them several inches to feet to yards away from them, and they could tell which direction my hands were facing. Their eyes would rapidly dart back and forth. The tiny little involuntary muscles in their forehead and in their chin would begin to ripple the way water ripples when you drop a coin into it. As that continued, I would see their fingers moving, their feet moving. When they opened their eyes, they told me they were feeling multiple hands on their body, 3, 4, 5, 6 hands at the same time. They were seeing colors they'd never seen before, smelling flowers they'd never before smelled. And when they opened their eyes and stood up, well, that was part of the healing. Some of them just stood up, even if they had come in wheelchairs. Others would come in the next few days. They would show me laboratory results where their cancer tumors had vanished. Children with cerebral palsy or epilepsy were able to walk and run and play and speak normally, not have seizures any longer, not need medication. Of course, just as with medicine, nothing is 100%. Not everyone got exactly the same response. But so many people had these dramatic healings, it became clear that something significant, something substantial was occurring. And people soon started asking me to teach this. And I said, teach it, you've got to be nuts. I'm standing there waving my hands in the air, looking like a fool. So you go outside, wave your hands in the air, see, what your neighbors have to say about you. But, the doctors were calling me and saying, what did you do? I was telling their doctors I didn't do anything, don't tell anyone. But the more I said that, the more it was like Nancy Reagan trying to just say no to drugs. So soon everyone started coming in saying that they wanted the same thing. And my patients would call me and they'd tell me that when they drove home, they got in front of their house, their automatic garage door opened before they hit the button to open it, or they walked inside and the lamp or TV started turning on and off by itself, and they would feel sensations in their hands. They would hold their hands near someone in their family, and the grandmother could walk after the stroke, or the uncle regained his hearing or his vision. And that's when we began to realize that this can be transmitted, and the ability to become familiar with it and utilize it can be taught. And so now I've trained over 75,000 people around the world how to do this work in full weekend seminars. The book, The Reconnection, is in 39 languages so far.
You are the most reluctant healer that can be on the face of this earth.
I don't know about being reluctant. I think I would call it being, I was a little cautious about it. Let's say that, because it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't something I planned or studied. And people say to me, well, how do you deal with skeptics? And I said, well, first I had to deal with my own skepticism. And the funny thing about overcoming your own skepticism is that once you really do, no one else's skepticism is the matter. I'm a very type A personality, meaning it used to be that you didn't escape a conversation with me or the room from me if you didn't either believe or agree with what I was saying or make me think that you did. And yet here, it's the biggest thing in my life. It's affected millions and millions of people around the planet, Reconnective Healing, so far. And it's the one thing that not only can't I prove, but somehow or other, I'm all right with that. All I can do, and all I'm really here to do is to share my truth of it. And it's up to each and every person listening and interacting with it what they allow themselves to hear of that truth and what they allow themselves to see.
When I hear about the kind of healings, the diseases that have gone away, I'm not going to ask you how to explain it because I
can't.
Yes, that's exactly why I wasn't. But how does that? I'm not saying how is it possible, because I really believe in health and healing, and I know that there are people out there that are healers. But tell us about some of the diseases or the dis-ease that is in people's bodies, and how do you think your body shifts from this reconnection, from this healing?
Well, from what we understand, there's been, and there is ongoing, a lot of research all around the world on what makes reconnective healing so very different. It's different in so many ways. First of all, it's not a technique. It's a way for us to learn to transcend technique, and we must transcend technique to master healing. We are not here to master healing techniques. We're here to master healing. Just like learning to ride a bicycle, you begin by learning to ride the bicycle with training wheels, but your goal isn't to master the bicycle with training wheels. It's to master the bicycle. And so we can't keep adding training wheel after training wheel, technique after technique, or we'll never master the bicycle itself. We'll only master the bicycle with training wheels. We have to be brave enough, and that's really the word. We have to be brave enough to transcend and let go of the technique, because the true gift of the training wheels comes once we remove them. The true gift of the technique comes in its very transcendence. And so what we know from some of the research, for instance, from Dr. Fritz Kopp in Germany, we know that we are light. We are not just light in a metaphysical or spiritual sense. The DNA in each of our cells emits specific levels of light. When our health is diminishing, it is fairly well recognized that our light is dimming. When our health is coming back up, our light is coming back up. But when we access the reconnective healing spectrum, we access new levels of light and information that the scientists, the very many of them, feel has not been seen here on the planet before. And so the theory basically is that when we access these higher, more coherent spectrums of light, that when we interact with another person, they recognize that light, not from a past life or a past existence, but it's pretty much similar to that light that we tend to experience, that love we tend to experience in between lifetimes. We're really reconnecting with the truth, the essence of who we are, our very soul. And when that happens, the light of the other person seems to entrain, seems to rise to that new level. In other words, you could almost say, figuratively speaking, that a voice goes off inside the person receiving reconnective healing that says, hey, I remember this. This is me vibrating as light. This is me vibrating as the truth that I am, the healthy, balanced being that I am, the essence of who and what I am. I think I'll do it again. And as they return to that light vibration, anything denser than that light, which tends to include most of our health challenges, our physical, our emotional, our spiritual challenges, has very little left to hold on to. So as appropriate for that person, those densities, those health challenges just seem to fall away. And if we take nothing else home from this interview, let's take home these next two statements, which are A, healing is just that simple, and B, anything more complicated than that, anything, crystals, wands, healing toys, symbols in the air, anything more complicated than that is designed to sell us something. And what it's designed to sell us is that we are not enough and that we need to add things to make ourselves more. But we can never, ever be enough from reaching out externally to these processes and healing toys. We can only become enough by recognizing that we already are enough. And that is part of the very important consciousness of this, because everything, every choice, every decision, every act we make comes either from fear, lack, limitation, the illusion of separation or darkness, or from love, prosperity, light, oneness, abundance, and unity. And we cannot give a gift we are not willing to accept or receive ourselves. We cannot stand in fear, protecting ourselves in a white flame, a purple flame, a gold flame, pulling up imaginary zippers in front of ourselves, and facilitate healings that reside in love. We cannot stand in the need for control, doing step A, step B, step C, pulling this percentage of the energies up, this down, this east, this west, and facilitate healings that reside in the freedom of being willing and able to observe and witness without judgment the beauty and the perfect direction of the universe. We cannot stand in lack and limitation, thinking that we need to add crystals and pendulums and pendants and healing wands to the situation and reside in the abundance in which healing resides.
You know, Dr. Pearl, you and I and 500 million other people are on Facebook. And I think it's a wonderful thing. One of the ways it really gets me down is to see how much talk, to see how many people have cancer. And it used to be when we were kids that if one person in some distant family had cancer, that was awful. Now it's as common, the sun rising. And there's so many people talking about the cancer that they have, or their mother has cancer, their father, and all this illness. And I love what you're saying about healing and about it's not a complicated thing. I love what you're saying because there needs to be someone, and you are one of those people that is standing up to what's going on in the world and saying, you can believe and come down with all the illnesses, or you can heal yourself. My question to you is, the sicker that people are, the more fearful they are. Someone having cancer to this 1 degree, a 2nd degree, 3rd degree, the sicker they are, the more frightened they are. Does it matter to you and what you do to what degree of illness that they have?
If you're a medical doctor, you are probably negligent if you don't diagnose. And unfortunately, in the energy healing world, they haven't really had a healing model. So their model has been taken from medicine, which hasn't done anyone a favor. They have tried to diagnose and determine the work, whether they pay attention to just the laboratory diagnosis, or whether they use a pendulum, or whether they muscle test, or whether they O-ring, or whether they ask their guides, or whether they feel for densities. We look for problems and try to fix them. But you see, that's really a much more symptomatic approach, and it's a much more medical approach. What I teach people is that the less we know about the person, the better off they are, because the less likely we are to impose consciously or otherwise our beliefs as to what is possible and what isn't possible for them. You know, there was a wonderful, wonderful film with Ellen Burstyn. She was up for an Academy Award for it in 1980 called Resurrection.
Loved it.
And in that movie, at some point, she had discovered the ability to be a healing facilitator for people. And she was about to do a healing session on a woman who couldn't walk. And this woman's family was carrying the woman up, placed her on a massage table. Ellen Burstyn walked over to the woman, was about to begin a healing session, and a very friendly, well-meaning country doctor came running over to her and called her aside and said, listen. And he really did mean well. He was well-intentioned. He said to her, don't get your hopes up on this person. I've seen her x-rays. She has total degeneration of her 3rd, 4th, and 5th lumbar vertebra and her spine. Don't expect a lot. And Ellen Burstyn's response was beautiful. She said, well, Doc, I have not seen those pictures. I'm one step ahead of you.
Wow. Did that film have any influence or effect on your life when you saw it that many years ago?
It had a definite effect on my life, but it was also, it had an effect on my life, but I didn't realize how much, because I enjoyed the part of the film that went through and talked about life after death, And I, of course, enjoyed the part of the film about being a healer, but I didn't take that part of it as a reality for me. I didn't think anything about it. And that was in 1980. These healings didn't begin for me until 1993, 13 years later. So only afterwards did I really look back and start to see yet even more of the wisdom in that movie. I mean, people say, you know, how did this happen to you? What's the shortest way you can describe it? And I said, the quickest way I can describe it is that I went home on a Thursday night thinking it was a doctor. I came back in on a Monday and I was something else. My parents had always told me that I was something else, but this is probably not what they had in mind.
So, speaking of relationships, how have the doctors been receptive to your work? How has it been when you're dealing with doctors and scientists?
Well, you know, we say, how have the doctors been? Like, how has the American Medical Association been or something? But, you know, it's not one animal with four legs, a head, and a tail. It's different people who think differently. They all come in with their own life. And I've trained over, as I said, 75,000 people around the world to do this. A good 20% of them, meaning about 15,000 or so, are mainstream medical healthcare practitioners, doctors, nurses, physical therapists. This work is practiced in private practices, medically, and in hospitals. And I speak at hospitals and universities around the globe, so very many are open, and some of them aren't. And you know what they say about progress is that it seems to march forward often one funeral at a time. So as the newer, younger thinking doctors are stepping into the picture, more and more are less and less concerned with the dogma of being that medicine has to be the only way, and more of them are learning and recognizing within themselves that they went into medicine as a path to become healers, and they want to bring healing into medicine. Many of the doctors today are recognizing that they didn't go into medicine because their goal was to be a medical doctor. They went into medicine because they were here to bring healing onto the planet. And so their focus today, very many of the newer doctors, is to bring more healing into medicine. Stop trying to be the doctor and start allowing ourselves to become the healer.
That's wonderful, wonderful advice, and I hope, and from what you've said, you're working with thousands of people, and you are really affecting this world tremendously in a very, very positive way. Dr. Eric Pearl, the reconnection, can people get the healing abilities by reading the book?
You can begin to. The last third of the book is a basic how-to, and you can begin to access this, and you will probably discover that you're feeling different sensations and learning how to do it from the book, and I do explain it. But you have to realize that from a book on anything, all you can learn are the basics of how to do this on a personal level. You can't go out and call yourself a Reconnective Healing practitioner any more than you could read a book on dentistry or hairdressing and go out and hang a shingle and say that you're a dentist or a hairstylist. You actually have to go through physical hands-on training, have to go through physical hands-on training with a teacher, with people who help make adjustments and refinements, and with discussion about philosophy and consciousness of this, so you can bring it through the fullest. But you can learn to take better care of your teeth from reading a book on dentistry. You can take better care of your hair and your family's hair, and you can take better care of your and your family's health just from reading this book.
So excited to have you on the show, to connect with you, feel like we know you. It's like just from reading your books and from wanting so much to be able to do what you do my whole life. And I really look forward to learning those skills from you so that I can be one of the people that brings healing and better health to the world. And I don't want to take up any more of your time, because if you're standing on a street corner in Bologna, Italy, I don't want you talking to me anymore, because it's probably in the middle of the night and you've got some serious eating to do. So thank you so much.
I'm ready to eat.
I want to connect with you again off. So again,
sure.
Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you. Dr. Eric Pearl, The Reconnection. Have a great trip. Speak to you when you get back. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.